Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about a framework which enables multi-agent conversation powered by LLM. So just like LangChain, this is a framework like provided by or developed by Microsoft, wherein it enables you to add like a multiple versions of your LLM agents, which can interact with each other and then perform the behavior expected by providing the prompts. So it is like a set of people or set of agents working together, solving a common problem. So we call this AutoGen. It is a framework for building LLM applications. It is a smart framework as it is enabled by an ecosystem which makes use of the LLM, and you can impersonate different agents which interact with each other and perform the required tasks. So these agents are like you can configure your application usage of agents by means of giving like the proper parameters. So we'll see that shortly. AutoGen provides the capability to define multiple agents here. So it actually simplifies the process of doing this. We can do this by other means also, but it just provides a base framework which makes it easier. So you can automate complex workflows where you have multi-agent interactions and some kind of behavior you're trying to impose. So that can be done, and it is you can say it is a tool which enables or which can automate any kind of workflow operations in different enterprises wherever there is like a kind of generation and review or maybe a counter generation kind of interactive behavior which is expected. So types of conversational agents which we can think of when we have to replicate a workflow. So it could be a agent customization where you would have agents like different parts of like different instances of the agents which may interact with say a third party system to get the data. You can have RAG also here. You can have RAG enabled agents, or you can have just agents behaving from by means of prompts, you're able to provide the behavior to the agent. Then it can be like a two-way communication. So you can have two agents communicating with each other. You can have three or more agents like interacting with each other, like a chat room, or if you want that kind of all talking to all agents. Or you can have like a hierarchical structure where you have like a admin or a reviewer on the top, and then the reviewer or planner will give activities to different agents, and then they will perform the task and give it to the reviewer or the admin, and the admin will consolidate and report the results. So that could be another way of implementation. So these are different ways how you can actually make use of AutoGen. Now, if we look at the agent ecosystem, so we have like a conversable agent, an assistant agent, a user proxy agent, a group chat manager. These are different types of agents. Everything is a conversable agent because it's like the base characteristic or base character. And then depending on how you customize it or what kind of behavior you prompt into it, it will impersonate that. So there are different parameters which we'll see. So here, this is an example which is provided. So if you want a automated agent, you would give a human input mode as neighbor. If you want a human in loop kind of behavior, here where one of your agents is a human who will review, so then you can provide the human input mode as like human. So accordingly, you can, so that could be a user proxy agent where you're actually having a real user, or it can be a group chat manager. So accordingly, this can be incorporated. And some examples you can see here. So this is like a math problem solving agent. So you have a student which gives a question, the assistant which takes the inputs from the like a coding assistant maybe, or a math expert, and then give the response. So it doesn't directly give the response, it interacts with these two agents and tries to improvise its response and give it back. Similarly, it can be like a retrieval augmented assistant, which is like connecting to a third party system, or directly LLM and then giving you the response. It can be a knowledge in a combination with critic agent. So if the knowledge assistant asks the question and reviews the answer with the critic. So these are different behaviors basically which you can like implement by means of this framework. So similarly, multi-agent code generation. So you can have a coder, you can have a reviewer, you can have a executor, then you can have a group chat kind of, where you have one manager and then you can broadcast your messages to everyone, and then you have just like one speaker who is talking about it, and then you're broadcasting to the others. Then you can have like a session moderator where you have different teams who are like interacting, and then the moderator is trying to maintain the decorum. So it can just be like a debate you're trying to replicate, or a review process, a meeting, so a brainstorming session. So like depending on what you're trying to achieve through the LLMs, you can embody and make use of this framework. So if you look at the conversible agent, the framework as such, so it has these parameters where you can give the name of the agent, you can give a system message to direct the agent what is the base behavior, you can give a termination message based on which like the content will end when that message is received. You can have a max consecutive auto reply. So how many auto replies or how many iterations you want the agent to be able to respond automatically, so that there is a like a loop of conversation. So if it's suppose if it's a critic review, so how many rounds of review would you want to perform by that critic agent? So you can give accordingly. If you set it to 0, then there will be no auto replies. Similarly, the human input mode. So if it is set to never, then it will not allow any human intervention. If it is always, then it will be like a user proxy or a human in loop, which will give the input. And terminate would be like whenever the say the human gives the input, it will terminate the process. Similarly, you can have function names, which will be callable functions, which can enable you to connect to different like systems and get the data. You can have a so if it is like a agent which has to execute and try out or test out the code, then you will use the code execution config. So it can be the configuration of how you want to execute the code. And then you can have, so you can give the Docker like Docker image, or you can give different other configurations like timeout, etc. Then finally, the LLM config is where you will provide the model configuration of which LLM will be used, so whether it is GPT-4, GPT 3.5, or any other such model. So you would provide, so config is basically like a dictionary object where you will give the model name and the corresponding API keys, which will be used here. And finally, a default auto reply, like if nothing happens, then what should be the like automatic response from this agent. So these parameters will allow you to define the behavior of an agent when it is interacting just one, or in a group where you have multiple agents defined. So we will like look at one demo here where I have defined an agent. So this is a collab. So you will first install the AutoGen library using pip install, which will install all the prerequisites. And in order to set the config list, like that is the LLM config, we generally use this config list from JSON, where we would define a JSON file which will have something like this, where you will give the model and the API key. So I've not added the API key here, but then that is the format we usually follow. So when you use this, it will look for a JSON file of this name, and it should have the details of the model. If the config list is not given, you can still just so this is actually the format of the sample config list where you'll give the model and the API keys. So basically, you're giving all the possible models which are available for the agents to use, and it will make use for generating its replies. And then if you're not giving the config list, you just set the default OpenAI API key using this. So it will also work. But then obviously, I mean, this is not the best way to use it. For demo purpose, I have included it here. But it would be better if you use the config list here. So you would give the parameters here for your model configuration, and then you would start defining your agents. So you use AutoGen dot with what type of agent it is, whether it is a user proxy agent. So user proxy agent is what will take the input from the user, like it will start the conversation because something has to trigger. Or if you want like an automated process which is triggered from the background also, there has to be a initial trigger, and that is where the user proxy agent, which so we are giving a system message, a human admin, which will interact with the engineer to finalize the code, and the final generated code needs to be reviewed by the admin. So we are giving here the capability that the user can actually review the code and then give feedback and like continue the loop of the generation. So kind of a human in loop. And then you will have the engineer where you would provide your system message of what kind of behavior you're expecting from the engineer. And this is where, like, since this is a code generation agent which we are trying to build, so this is related to whether any things specifically you want to add, any instructions you can add here. And then you would have an executor. So here I've not added like detailed configuration, but then you would need like a Docker configuration here if you really want to execute and try it out. And then there's a critic who is going to review the generated code by the engineer. So you will specify here and then provide the feedback. So with these 4 agents, we are having a conversational ecosystem which will interact and provide the results. So this is the group chat. Here you're passing the agents. So these are the 4 agents for this example we are using. If you want to automatically initiate, you can also provide some messages here. And you can give the max number of rounds you want the iteration, the process to go. So here we have 4 agents. We have taken like 5 rounds. And then we are initiating the chat using the user proxy and giving the first message, which is like asking generate the code to extract from a PDF document and split into sections. So now you can see here, so like it will actually show you the interaction of how the admin has started the conversation by giving the first message, which is the generation. These warnings you can ignore now. This you will not get if you provide the config list. Then the engineer will start with execution, like generating the code. So the code is generated here. Then this code is the executor tries to execute the code here. You can see this. And then it gives some feedback. The code execution failed because this was not installed. And then you giving the improvement feedback. Then the feedback will go on to the engineer. So engineer is the one agent who is generating the code. So the engineer now says that, thank you for the feedback. I'll incorporate the changes and improve the code. And then giving the improved code. So this is the code which gets generated finally. You can see. So it is extracting the file and then splitting into sections here. So finally, this is generating the code, and it is like it is the final code. This ends the conversation. So this is how you can see that you can define rules for your agents, and you can build an interactive process of generation and review, making the use of or making the power of the use of the power of the LLMs to replicate the automation of some kind of behavior. And like the review or the critique or generation, execution. So these are different things you can try out. And also you can bring in RAG if you want to refer to external knowledge sources. And you can build your powerful agents using AutoGen. Thank you.